You probably know that landscape architects work with plants. We do and we love it, but we use them in really interesting ways that you may not have realized. And we do so much more than pick out plants. In this podcast series, we invite professionals in our field to talk about what excites them about the profession of landscape architecture and the wide variety of things they do. We will explore the many ways that landscape architects positively impact the world. Landscape architecture is a diverse practice that shapes the way we experience and move through our cities and communities, guides our responses to climate and environmental changes, brings forward our public histories, and so much more. We at the University of Colorado Denver Department of Landscape Architecture are excited that you are interested in our field. Please join us as we discover what many people don't know about landscape architecture.
Karla Dakin is the founder and owner of Dakin Design, a practice that she established in 1997 while in graduate school at CU Denver after moving from Los Angeles to Colorado. With roots in the art world and over 25 years of experience shaping residential, cultural, and public landscapes, her work is deeply inspired by plants, walking, and the intersection of art, horticulture, and landscape architecture. Okay, Karla, thanks for joining the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
You mentioned an early career in the art world. How did you move from that to landscape architecture?
Well, one foot in front of the other. It started by gardening on fire escapes in New York City when I was working in the art world. But I've always had an interest in plants. Both sides of my family go back generations, being particular plantsmen or plantswomen and having extensive gardens. So that encouraged me. And then when I relocated from Los Angeles, after working in the art world to Colorado, I started taking horticultural classes and classes through the Denver Botanic Gardens. And that just sort of led me one foot in front of the other to apply to CU to get my graduate degree in landscape architecture.
Can you tell us what you mean by telling stories with landscape? Do you have a favorite story you've been able to tell recently?
Well, I love this question because it really sort of brought me back to graduate school. And I remember in one crit, we were presenting and I told this story, like how about how the program was established. And it was just, a fictional story. And one of the people who was on the review team really took umbrage with it and just read me the riot act. And here I am 25 years later, essentially, as I see it, still telling stories, because I feel like we all have our own narrative and our perception of the world and how we want to live in it and what we want to experience. And because my work was largely residential, it's my job to be the muse and to be the guide to tell my client's story, to get from them, what they love, how they feel joy in the garden, as much as what they hate and they don't want to see. I mean, because all these pieces of what I see as the puzzle of they have children, they have dogs, they hate evergreens, they like orange, all of that to me becomes a story whereby I then craft or work through in collaboration with them and my colleagues, contractors, and people like that, the story of their particular garden. Because really what's important to me is that I'm transforming not only their space, but how they perceive and live in their space. So I feel like life is a story, however we want to tell it.
What is horticulture consultancy and what kind of clients do you work with in that type of work?
So again, I really appreciate this question because it brings me back to memories of graduate school. And as I said to you, offline when we were talking before, I got into this career sort of step by step. But initially, I took a lot of classes from the Denver Botanic Gardens. Lauren Springer was particularly inspiring to me, and I would buy her books, and she was sourcing plants that you couldn't find in your local nurseries, but her gardens were just really spectacular. And so I would take these plants classes and I'd go to her lectures. And then when I got to CU, I realized in the curriculum there was only one plant class required. And I was like, that's so fascinating. That's, a different from sort of my passion and my approach to design, which has always been plant centric. And so because of that, or, in response to that, then because I'd taken a lot of plants classes before, following up, I just sort of became a plant geek. And I hang out with a lot of horticulturalists. I've worked directly with the incredible people at the Denver Botanic Gardens. I've hired horticulturalists like John Greenlee in California to help me specify the plants for the Los Angeles Museum of the Holocaust. I have a huge garden myself. I've taken classes in permaculture and biodynamic gardening way before these were popular terms or things to be studied. And I've always just been I love plants. I love to watch them when I go on a walk and see how they grow as opposed to how they're described in the nursery catalogs. And so I've gained a reputation for being a plants woman. And I also, in 2019, I won an award for being one of the top female horticulturalists in Colorado. So there I was up at CSU, up on the dais with Lauren Springer. And it was pretty amazing. So oftentimes I'm called my clients, they just have to solve a problem. I need screening in the corner, or I'd like more trees. So I can show up on site and just do a download and just talk plants with somebody that needs it. Or, I am hired often because of my specific plant knowledge with native and climate appropriate plants. And I've also written a book on green roofs and the plants that thrive there.
How did you get involved in green roof design, and what is the best part of that type of work?
I got involved in green roof design because I was chosen to design the green roof or the rooftop at the Museum of Contemporary Art Denver. And this was 2007. And I was given a very short timeline. So as I formulated the design in collaboration with Sidney Payton, the then director of the Museum of Contemporary Art, I reached out to the Denver Botanic Gardens to get help with what plants might be okay on a roof. Because at that time in 2007, the industry was still fairly new, although we have a lot of old examples of green roofs, especially around Denver. But I got put in touch with Mark Fusco, who at the time was designing a green roof on top of the cafe at the Denver Botanic Gardens. And he gave me a list of possible plants that I think took me like a week or 2 weeks on Google just to go through, because I'd never heard of them. They were from all over the world. So they weren't just native, but they were climate appropriate. And that just sort of led me into this wonderful group of people who are very passionate about green roofs. Ed Snodgrass from Emery Knowles and John Little from England. And, we had a group of us in Denver used to put on green roof symposia at the Denver Botanic Gardens. And I eventually wrote a book with Lisa Benjamin called The Professional Design Guide to Green Roofs. So again, it's become another part of my niche expertise of what I can offer my clients, along with my horticultural knowledge or my knowledge of food gardens, things like that. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, those were all the questions we had. We really appreciate you joining us and for answering all our questions today.
Thank you, Amanda. It's a pleasure to be here after so many years. I graduated in 1999. So I appreciate you all reaching out and giving me the opportunity to catch up about the last 25 years.
Of course. And we hope we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to our podcast, Something Else About Landscape Architecture. The Department of Landscape Architecture at the University of Colorado, Denver offers multiple paths of study to fit your career aspirations. We invite you to visit our website, ucdenver.edu/landscape, or follow us on Instagram at CU Denver Landscape Arch.